Hi everybody, good morning. How are you guys? I hope you're doing great. Tony the Tiger. Welcome to a YouTube lesson. Today is Wednesday, May 27th. And the first thing that we're going to do today is math. Oh, do you like it like this? Or should I put it like this? Okay. Anyway, I want to tell you that in math, we have seen a couple of things this week. One of them was very new, and the other one we have been practicing a lot. Okay, so what I need you to do first is you're going to need your notebook or sheets of paper, your pencil, your eraser, maybe a ruler would be a good idea to get. Okay? Why? Because we're going to practice what we learned on Monday. On Monday, we studied a little topic in math called rounding numbers. Do you remember that? Okay. I'm going to play a little part of the video that we saw the other day in class. And then what we're going to do is do some practice exercises. I'm not going to send you a worksheet. I'm going to show you the exercises on the video. So you're going to need to do this right along, okay? So first things first, I'm going to go and open the video, all right? And we're going to watch it together. Does that sound good? All right, so here we go.
Hi, welcome to Math Antics. In this video, we're going to learn about an important math concept called rounding. To help you understand what rounding is, let's think about how numbers are usually used. Most of the time, numbers are used to represent amounts of things, like how many miles it is to the supermarket, or how many days until your birthday, or how many students went to your high school. How many students went to my high school? Oh, about 2,000. Okay, but it wasn't exactly 2,000, was it? Well, no, it was more like 1,900. But it probably wasn't exactly 1,900 either, was it? Well, no, it was more like 1,860. All right, fine. 1,863. See what I did there? At first, the number used to represent the students at high school was a round number. It was a good estimate of how many students there were, but it wasn't exact. The next two numbers were a little closer to the truth, but they were still estimates. Only the final number represented the exact amount of students at the school. All three of the estimates are rounded versions of the exact count, but they have different levels of precision. 1,860 was the most precise estimate, and 2,000 was the least precise estimate. So rounding a number basically means making a less precise version of it. And as you can see, there's usually multiple ways to round a number depending on the level of precision that you need. A really good way to understand what's going on when you round a number is to look at a number line. Here's 1,863. If we want to round it to the nearest 10, we need to decide if it goes up to 1,870 or down to 1,860. But if we want to round it to the nearest 100, we need to decide if it goes up to 1,900 or down to 1,800. And if we want to round it to the nearest 1,000, we need to decide if it goes up to 2,000 or down to 1,000. And in each case, the decision was based on which round number was closer to the original exact number. But you might be wondering, why would we ever want to make a number less precise in the first place? What is rounding good for? Well, rounding numbers can often make them a lot easier to do calculations with. Like, it would be a lot easier to quickly add 300 and 500 than it would be to add 312 and 498. Or sometimes you just don't need very much precision. Like, you might not need to know that your dog weighs 55.83297 kilograms. 55.8 kilograms might be precise enough. And some numbers, like repeating decimals or irrational numbers, have to be rounded off, because we can, and why we do it. For the rest of this video, we're going to focus on learning the procedure we follow to round off a number. Do you remember how our number system is based on digits and number places? Each digit of a number occupies a particular number place, and each number place is named according to the amount it represents, or counts. And it's important to know those names whenever you're rounding a number, because you'll usually be asked to round to a specific number place. For example, you may be asked to round a number to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. Or you might be asked to round a number off to the nearest 10th or 100th. You may even be asked to round to the nearest whole number, which is another way of asking you to round to the ones place. Okay, so when you're asked to round a number, the first step is to pay very close attention to which number place you need to round to. That number place is important because it represents the smallest unit of counting that you're going to keep in your rounded version of the number. In fact, that number place and the digit inside it is so important that I'm going to give it a special name just for this video. Let's call it the target. As I mentioned, rounding a number means making a new, less precise version of it. In that new number, any digits that are in number places smaller than the target will automatically get replaced with zeros. And in most cases, any digits that are in number places larger than the target will automatically be kept the same in the new rounded version. There are some exceptions, as we'll see later in this video. So that seems pretty simple. All the bigger digits you keep, and all the smaller digits you zero. But what about that target digit itself? What do we do with that? Well, we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to keep that digit the same, or we're going to increase it by 1. If we keep that target digit the same, that's called rounding down, which might seem strange at first. I mean, how can leaving the digit the same be rounding down? But remember, we're going to automatically replace all of the smaller places with 0. And doing that makes a rounded number smaller, even if the target digit stays the same. On the other hand, increasing the target digit by 1 is called rounding up, since the new rounded number will be larger than the original number. Alright, but how do we decide which to do? How do we know if we keep the target digit the same or increase it by 1? The key is to look at the digit in the next smaller number place, the digit that's just to the right of the target digit. If that digit is less than 5, in other words, if it's a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then we'll leave the target digit the same in the rounded version. But if the digit is a 5 or greater, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then we'll increase the target digit by 1. Okay, so now that you know the basic procedure for rounding numbers, let's try a few specific examples. Here's the first one. Round 24,623 to the nearest 100. Since we need to round to the nearest 100, we first need to identify the digit in the hundreds place. That digit is a 6, so that's our target. And we know that any digits to the right of the target will be replaced with zeros in our rounded version. Next, let's decide what to do with the target digit. We either keep it the same or we increase it by 1. To decide, we look at the value of the next digit to the right. Since that digit is only a 2, which is less than 5, we round down, which means that we'll keep the target digit the same in the rounded number. Last, we just keep all the digits in bigger number places the same in the rounded version. There, we've rounded the original number to the nearest 100, and the answer is 24,600. Let's try another problem. This one has some...
Okay, so now that you know, or that you have seen the video again, I just really want to explain to you how we're going to apply this to our real lives, okay? So what are we going to do then? We're right now in math and we've seen rounding numbers. Now our numbers are not as big as the ones that we were working on the video, but we are going to take some numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and change here and do, for example, our exercises. Now the first exercise that we have, number 1, is going to be the number 132, and we're going to round it to the nearest tens. So it's always going to be in the tens. All right. Now, I know that if I make a number line, if I make a number line, and I have to go to the tens, I take 130, and the nearest 10 on the higher side is 140. Now, 130, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that wasn't very separated, but I can go ahead and do this. 131, 132. Okay, so now I have spotted it. 133, 134, 135. And I know that the rule says that from 0 to 4, if my number is from 0 to 4, it rounds to the left or it rounds down. So the rounded version of 132 is really 130. Here we are. Now that we've solved this problem, let's go ahead and do another one. Let's do number 2. Number 2 is the number 60. Now the number 60, when I look at it like that, and I have to put it to the nearest 10, how am I supposed to do this? Well, I'm going to go ahead and put in my number line 60 because it's the bottom number, and the one at the top is 70. Now when I make my number line, and it goes something like this, I have here in the middle, this is 60 and this is 70. And in the middle of 60 and 70, I have 65. Okay? But I already know that my number ends in a 0. Okay? So anything that that ends in a 0 stays the same. So the rounded version of 60 is really 60. Okay? All right? Let's try to do one more exercise, and I'm going to give you many to do by yourselves. So let's go and do number 3. I'm going to put it over here, number 3. And the third number is 144. Now remember that I am here trying to round to the nearest tens, okay? So the tens would be this one. Okay, sorry, this number. Now, if I go to the nearest tens in 144, then the nearest tens at the bottom is 140. And if I make my number line, 150 is the other one, is my highest one. That would be if I round it up, and this would be if I round it down. Okay? Now I take 9, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 140. And this is 141, 142, 143, 144. And when I find my number, which is here, I know that 144 is smaller than 145. Now the 145 to the right means that the number gets rounded up, but 144 is to the left, which means that the number gets rounded down, and it would be 140. If we apply the system that we were applying before, the next number is 4, and that's when I have to spot here in my number line. Now once I find it and it's right here, I can see that if it's smaller than 5, or it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then my target number, which is this one, stays the same. And this one goes to 0, 140. Good? Okay. Now I'm going to go and clear this so that we can do more exercises, all right? All right, let's continue. We're going to do a few more exercises, and I'm going to put them right here. So I'm going to take here, and I'm going to do, this is going to be number 4. Now number 4 is 120. Number 5 is 145. Number 6 is 103. Number 7 is 116. So what do I want you to do? I want you to round these numbers. to the nearest 10. So I'm going to underline exactly where I need you to find. This is your target. Okay, sorry. Hold on. Ah. Wow, this is big. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to help you with these. 120, 145. I want you to round to the nearest 10. Now remember that you always have to worry about the number next to it. If the number next to it is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the number is rounded down. But if the number next to it is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, the number is rounded up. Okay? So go ahead and do those, and I'm going to put some more exercises for us to do. I will give you a couple of minutes, all right? You can pause the video while you do the exercises. All right, let's continue. So number 8 is the number 94. Number 9 is the number 139. Number 10 is the number 86. Number 11 is the number 156. Okay. Now remember, you have to round to the nearest 10. So you have to find the 10th spot, okay? All right. Now the number that you have to really pay attention to is, of course, the number next to it. This guy. I'm going to put an arrow on the number that you need to pay attention to. Okay? Now, do you understand what you have to do? Okay, so let's go ahead and solve some of these for you. I'm going to go and switch to the color over here. Let's do number 4, which is 120. Now 120, the 2, it ends in a 0. So it would go down, which means that the target number, which is in the tens, would be the same. So the rounded number of 120 is 120. Now let's do number 5, 145. If I make my number line, I'm going to make it a different color. My number line will be this, okay? Where the beginning is 140, which is my lowest tens. And on the right will be 150. It's my highest tens. Now, how do I know if it goes to the right, it goes rounded up, or to the left, where it rounds down? Well, I count 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147, 148, 149, and finally 150. Okay? Now, where on this line would be 145? 141, 142, 143, 144, 145 would be right here. Now, once I spot it, I know that anything, remember the rule, if the number is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, the number is rounded up. So this side rounds to the right. So 145 rounded is really 150. Ta-da! All right, let's try one more. Number 6. The rest you're going to do by yourselves, and we're going to check it on Thursday. Remember that on Thursday we have class a little bit later, from 10:40 to 12:35, okay? That was just a reminder. All right, so 103. Now, if I make my number line, I'm going to change the color one more time. If I make my number line here, then the smallest tens in 103 would be 100. And the higher 10 would be 110. Now 101, 102, 103 would be right here, 103. Now I know that 3 is smaller than 5, so it rounds to the left. It rounds down. So 103 rounded is really 100. Aha! So I hope you're following this method and you can give me and show me all your answers tomorrow in Zoom class. Remember, the class is a little bit later. And even though we might not be doing math, you can just show me the exercises that you did today. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make some more exercises for us to do. All right? Okay, so let's do number 12, which is 85, and 13 will be 168, and 14 will be 135, and 15 will be 108, and 16 will be 187, and number 17 will be 77. I'm going to make some more space here that you can see. Number 18 is going to be 195. And number 19 will be 33. And finally, the last one, 153. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of help with some of these exercises, okay? Remember that you have to round to the nearest 10, okay? But let's go ahead and work on some of these numbers. I'm going to take, for example, number 13, and I'm going to do it down here. 168. If I take the number in 68 and I have to round to the nearest 10, and I make a better number line, there we go. 168, the nearest tens would be 160. And the other nearest 10 would be 170. Okay? Now, if I count 161, 162, 163, 164, 165, 166, 167, 168, 169, 170. Now 168 would be about this mark. Now it's definitely 8 is a lot bigger than 5, so it rounds to the right, which means that 168 rounded is 170. Good? All right. Now the other one that I want to help you with would be number 16. And I'm going to do it up here. Number 16. Oops, sorry. So it's going to be 187. And when I make my number line, something like this, if I go down here to the nearest tens, would be 180. And to the highest tens would be to 190. Oops, this 9 came out a little weird, right? So 180 is my lowest. So 181, 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, right here. 188 and 189. Now I know that it's bigger than 5. So 187 is really rounded up to 190. 90. Yay! And the last one that I want to help you with is number 18. Number 18 is 195. What happens with the number 195? That it's dangerously near to the next 100. Okay? So 195 is rounded down to the nearest 10, 190. But the highest 10 is 200. Okay? That's how much difference there is between 190 and 200. Exactly 10. So I would have to have 190 here, sorry, and 200 over here. So I start counting. 191, 192, 193, 194, 195, which is my number. Then 196, 197, 198, 199, 200. And I know that anything from 5 to 9, 5 to 9 has to be rounded up. So 195 rounded is actually 200. Changes this number. Okay. All right. So I hope that you guys have written all of these exercises down and that you understand everything perfectly. If you don't, you can email me. But we'll talk tomorrow anyway. If you feel confused about this in any way, just talk to me, okay? Now, you will have a couple of more videos reminding you of some stuff that we studied during the week, okay? So I'll see you on for a later video. See you later, alligator.